What if the promised land was never about real estate? What if it's one of the most misunderstood concepts in all of Scripture? What if the answer isn't where you think it is? Welcome to Veritas Explore. We're not here to represent any religion or attack any religion. We're here for truth seekers. We decode Scripture, we decode culture, we decode news, and we always look for the third side, the truth beneath the noise. I'm Gio. Let's begin. For centuries, the Promised Land has been read as a divine deed to a specific territory, a strip of land promised to one people forever. This reading has fueled everything from religious devotion to endless conflict. But if we step back, we notice something strange. The land itself is described in terms that don't sound like real estate at all. It's flowing with milk and honey. It's a place of rest. It's a place where God's presence dwells. These are not surveyor's terms, they are theological symbols. And if we read them only as geography, we miss the point entirely. Let's start with the first layer. The Promised Land is described using the same language as the Garden of Eden. A land flowing with milk and honey. Milk, nourishment for the vulnerable, honey, the sweet fruit of harmonious labor. When Adam and Eve were expelled from Eden, they lost access to the tree of life, to the presence of God, to the place of rest. The Promised Land is presented as a partial restoration of Eden, a place where humanity can again dwell in God's presence, to enjoy rest and steward creation in harmony. The conquest narratives then are not primarily about ethnic cleansing. They are about removing anti-Edenic systems, the violence, idolatry, and injustice of the Canaanite cultures. The driving out is a metaphor for the radical uprooting of dehumanizing systems. The land itself vomits out its inhabitants when injustice prevails. Notice, the land is not an unconditional gift. It is ethically conditional. It rejects those who practice injustice. This internal logic already subverts any claim of unconditional territorial entitlement. Now let's go deeper. The French philosopher Emmanuel Levinas, himself a Jewish thinker, drew a crucial distinction. There are two ways of relating to the land: possession and construction. Possession leads to control, ownership, and exclusion. Construction is about responsibility, justice, and ethical relation. Levinas argued that the true meaning of the Promised Land is not a territory to be possessed, but a position from which we must respond to others. The land is holy because it is where humans learn to be responsible for one another, not because of dirt or borders. When Israel practiced injustice, they were exiled. The land itself rejected them. What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. That is the true inheritance. It's about how you live, not just where you live. Now we come to the third layer. The writer Franz Kafka noticed a profound paradox in the story of Moses. Moses sees the Promised Land from Mount Nebo, but he is not permitted to enter. Traditional interpretations call this a punishment, but Kafka saw something else. Moses does not reach Canaan because his life was a human life. Kafka understood that promised lands are structurally unreachable in full. They function as a perpetual horizon, a there and not here that keeps humanity in motion toward justice and redemption. Every great movement for justice, the civil rights movement, the fight against apartheid, has been animated by this vision. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I've been to the mountaintop. I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land." The promised land is not a destination you simply arrive at. It is a horizon that always demands more of you. King didn't just use the promised land as a metaphor. He reframed it in concrete socio-economic terms. He asked, what good does it do a man to eat at an integrated lunch counter if he doesn't earn enough money to buy a hamburger? Either we go up together or we go down together. For King, the promised land meant economic dignity, union rights, and a moral revolution for the common good. This is the promised land as a just social order, not territory to be claimed, but a society to be built. And here's the final piece. The biblical story does not end in Canaan. The land was always a signpost, not the destination. The author of Hebrews speaks of a rest still remaining for God's people, Hebrews 4:9. The book of Revelation envisions a new heaven and a new earth where God dwells with humanity. The promised land was a classroom, a foretaste of the complete renewal of all creation, where justice and peace fill the earth. So let's bring this together. What's the third side truth about the promised land? It's a return to Eden, a prototype of renewed creation, and an ethical project where justice must be built. It's a perpetual horizon that keeps us striving and a pointer to the renewal of the whole world. The real question is not who owns this dirt. It is, what kind of world are we creating where we stand? The promised land is a reality we are called to embody. What does it mean in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm Gio. This is Veritas Explore. Stay curious, stay just, and always seek the third side.